Oh my goodness.
America.
Oh, Empire City Day, bringing us in this time. What are we doing? The show in reverse? What is happening? Well, it's the first show of October. Oh my goodness, it's spooky season. Yes, that's things are not what they seem. Things are backwards. What a fun opening to Sonic Weekly, your favorite weekly Sonic podcast. I'm Grant, and it's the boys back in town. Bo's here. Hi, Bo.
Here we go, buddy. Hey, it had to be the win because somebody wasn't there. But I'm here.
And also, out of the shadows into the spotlight, it's Sonic Retro's David the Lurker.
Whoa, hi Grant, hi Bo. That's right. There's a chill in the air, and that is it a ghost, or is it because you didn't close the window and it's fall? Oh, it might be that second one. Shut it. Shut those windows. Hide in the dark.
Is it the Purge? Is the Purge happening?
Oh, I don't know.
Time?
I've seen the first one, but I never saw the other ones.
I've never seen any Purge, but I did go to a Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios in Hollywood, California, and they had a Purge themed maze.
Oh,
and anything goes.
Yeah, well, we all made it out, so it was kind of a weak.
Oh,
Purge.
That's good. So all of you, you didn't lose.
Not a single. We were kind of hoping. There was like a couple people in our group where I wouldn't mind getting them purged, but everybody made it intact.
All right.
And so did we. We planned on having a guest this week.
Hang on, before we leave the Purge.
Okay.
I kind of want to see, what are the results of the Purge? Like, it's framed as, okay, we got to clear society out. We've got 24 hours of anything goes.
I thought it was 12 hours.
Like, they keep. Oh, is it only? It's only 12 even. So
yeah.
Like, what are the results of the Purge? Like, is society more dynamic? I want to see the Purge : the rest of the year movie.
You want the Excel report. You want the PDF of the crime has gone down.
Right.
The I don't know, birth rate has gone up. The life expectancy has gone up. The quality of life has gone up. And
they're
the Purge has been a huge success.
They're like November through September. The death rate is way down. Don't look at October, but
right. I don't know because I haven't seen the other movies. I think because I know there's a prequel called The First Purge.
Yeah.
In which
but it's not the first Purge movie.
No, it's not. It's like the fourth, maybe, or the fifth, because I know there's
I'm sure it's a big issue in the Purge fandom. Like on all the Purge podcasts, they have to clarify. It's in the first Purge, not the first Purge, but
in Purge 2017 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Right. All I know is that in watching the original Purge film, that it does bring up questions of how are you supposed to engage with your neighbors if one of them did try to murder you an hour ago? And
see, this is a good movie, right?
Right. I do, because I know there's a film where the first one is just sort of it's a box movie, right? Where it's all in a house. And then the sequel is we're on the streets and things are wild. And then I think the third one is about politics, because there's somebody who's running on the platform of let's end the Purge. Maybe we should do that. Then there's the prequel. And then there's one where it's we're doing the Purge on a different day. And so, and not that, and everyone else is you can't do the Purge on this day. And they're why not? If we do the Purge every day, then we'll really purge it up. But I don't know what happens in these, but I think I
feel like your neighbors are going to get really nice to you in the weeks leading up to the Purge.
Right. I think they scold you if you try to escape to Canada, because they don't do it up there. And they're what? You're not going to do your patriotic duty by purging? But I think in the first one, all they want to do is party and have drugs, and then they send in moles in the first Purge, not the first film, but the fourth one maybe.
Oh,
okay, reel it in.
Yeah. Okay.
So I thought the Purge was all murder. I thought we were purging people by murdering people.
Well, it's
that's what I thought.
Right. It's all laws are broken, including you can break every law, including murder, except you can't murder a handful of politicians. That would be bad, of course. But I guess what they do is they send in moles because no one wants to immediately commit murder. They just want to have fun and do a drug in the middle of New York City. And then they're oh, but what if instead of doing a drug and having fun, you do a murder like this? And then they're whoa, I guess now we will succumb to the dark urges of humanity or something. And then there's a lot of there's maybe morals or analogs or something. I don't know.
Welcome back to Sonic Weekly. If you're just joining us, subject this week is The Purge. Talking about the Purge franchise with David the Lurker, Bo. I'm Grant. Quick question. If the Sonic universe were to experience the Purge, who would be the most likely to like the Purge, and who would be the most likely to die in the Purge?
Oh.
I think the Purge has happened a couple of times, right? They called it the Super Genesis Wave. And, a lot of good. Okay, I almost said a lot of good characters got wiped out. A lot of characters got wiped out.
Hey, some of them were pretty good.
Wow, Princess
Sorry,
Sally
Dr. Quack,
slander.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I feel like Eggman would be into it, but it would backfire and he'd be the only one who dies.
Yeah, that seems right.
Yeah,
that feels about right. Okay, well, there's a number of things to get to this week. This is sort of a and Knuckles continuation of the Sonic Central. There's an explosion of news last week. We covered it in a frenzy. We talked also briefly about the first episode of Dark Beginnings. This week, the second episode of Dark Beginnings released, so we will talk about that. We also have some viewer mail, some Garfield, some Rings of Saturn. So we're going to get to all of these things. And I guess the first thing to pick up on, David, is what did we leave out from last week? What connective tissue do we need to connect back to the Sonic Central? Did we really leave King Ice hanging?
Well, I mean, even the Sonic Central left King Ice hanging. I mentioned it at the end. I was like, we didn't talk about King Ice. We didn't bring it back. I mean, I guess we did sort of rush through Hey New story trailer and the first episode. Well, we rushed to the end, but at the same time, we've talked a lot about Sonic X Shadow Generations as a whole.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not like, oh, this is our first look. Like, we've had many looks, and we've had many looks. I said that twice. I was going to say something different. But yeah, the King Ice, and also looking at sonicstadium.org, and the same article that says, hey, do you want to buy? Oh, look at this. It's 10% off with the code Sonic Stadium. Only 135 USD dollars to get the King Ice bling necklace instead of 150. I thought it was 200. I was wrong. It's 150. 10% off with Sonic Stadium. We're pitching their promo code because we don't have one. Could we get a promo code for King Ice?
No.
Oh.
No, it's never going to happen.
Right.
I think just like the ethical purity of this show depends on us not doing that.
Yeah.
Right. There's also a terrifying new action figure called Chow Mascot Tails, which is in the same article. It looks like it's Movie Tails wearing a Chow head. That must happen in film. That seems like a spoiler.
Oh.
Wow.
I could see it actually, yeah.
How about that?
These plush toys, the Sonic All-Star Collection, they look pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get him or anything, but that's a nice looking Sonic, a pretty solid Tails, good Knuckles. He's got a very square body. Amy, you don't often see Amy as a plush, and then Shadow looks fine.
Do you have a lot of Sonic plushies?
What's a lot?
Top 1% of the population, Grant, certainly, but also probably me, because I have 2.
Whoa.
And that's probably a lot more than most people have.
I would say I'm in the top 1% of the global population of people who have of Sonic plushes, but within the Sonic fandom,
yes,
I think I'm probably top. I think I'm like, I don't even know if I'm in the 50th percentile. Like, I think I'm middle. I think I'm less than middle of the pack.
Okay.
I have a number of them, but I don't have complete sets of anything. I don't have, some of the ones go. Well, I actually do have. You know what? Okay, I do have a lot. If I'm this deep into this, the answer is yes. I have a lot.
Okay.
See, I have a Sonic Spinball era thing that you can fold into itself, and it becomes the spin ball.
Ooh, I remember that.
That's the dream.
There was not that many Sonic plushes back in the 90s, but that's the one I had. And I also have a Tails who's bigger than the Sonic, which always seemed a little bit, off in the on the toy shelf. Like, why is Tails bigger than Sonic? But it's all we had.
Oh, hit by a growth ray.
How are we 3 for 3, 1 for 3? How many of us dressed up as Sonic for Halloween at any point in our life? I think I did as a kid.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I can remember the costume, so I think that means that I did, and I probably have a photo of it. My mom does somewhere, so I think I did.
I did not do it. I did a Ninja Turtle one year,
Ooh.
and it snowed on Halloween that year, and we had to wear our winter coats. And I thought to myself and vocalized, "We look like chumps. We're wearing these bandanas, and we're wearing winter coats. No one knows what we are.
Yeah,
This is nonsense. I want a do-over on this." And they said, "Come on, it's cold. Let's go to the next house."
Yeah.
And then, it was a couple of years later, I was, if not the Fonz, like a guy who looked like the Fonz, like, leather jacket, blue jeans, combed back hair, and the zipper on the leather jacket, it broke in the up position.
Oh.
And we had to cut me out of this leather jacket. And
Wow.
It was the opposite problem from the previous Halloween, because it got like very warm while I'm stuck in this leather jacket.
Crazy.
Two costume anecdotes from my youth for these podcast listeners.
Which Ninja Turtle were you?
Oh, Michelangelo.
You were Michelangelo.
No hesitation.
Okay.
Hardy dude.
Yeah, I did dress up as Raphael. So if I had...
Oh, you were more like a brooding kind of kid?
I was Leonardo, so we're one shy of having the complete set.
That's right. Oh, we could have been wild during Halloween if we had lived in the same place. Like, we'd be tearing up the streets. We
wouldn't be wearing our winter coats.
No,
that's for sure.
No.
We would be parentless. We would have bags, and we'd be looking good in our turtles costumes.
What did you normally use to collect candy? Like, what did you carry around?
I feel like it was a bag, but I guess for a time when you're a little kid, it's like the plastic bowl.
Yeah, plastic bucket from McDonald's with the face on it. Like, I can picture this very clearly.
Yes.
Collect
There's
all
a purple
three.
one and a green one. Yeah. Oh, and an orange one. Yeah.
That's right. Right. There was like a witch, a ghost,
right,
a pumpkin. Yeah.
David, did you ever dress up as Sonic the Hedgehog in your adult life?
Oh, in my... No, I've never dressed as Sonic as a child or an adult. I do have, that Sonic hat that you could get pre-ordered with Sonic colors. I don't think I even bought that hat. Somebody just handed it to me one day, and it became mine.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah. Wait. I think I also... No. Right, now I remember how I got that hat. I think I guilted my sister into buying it for me.
I do have multiple Sonic costumes in my house right now, but I have age-appropriate children for that, so...
Yeah, right.
Again, I was age-appropriate when I wore the Sonic costume. This was not... Right. I wasn't 30.
Right. I'm trying to remember, like, all my costumes, because I know, like, the Ninja Turtle one I wore a couple years. I had one, a Native American costume, let's say. Which... I'm sure
it's part of the 90s we don't want to dwell on.
I also was Superman a couple times, although I called myself Superboy as I was a child.
Good. And you were still, even then, you were like, canonically, I'm not Superman, man.
Right. I have to be...
I'll accept your candy, but I am not. I am more like Superboy when he was with the Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah, even though at that point I didn't know who this Legion of Superheroes were.
Right now, the listeners don't know why they're listening to this show. So let's bring it back to Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic X Shadow Generations Dark Beginnings, Episode 2. David, will you kick us off with some reactions and thoughts to this?
Right. So Episode 2, I mean, briefly, it starts where once again, 50 years ago, we see the gun commander as a child. We see his multicolored eyes. I forget the name of that. And he has a bit of a shout. Maria and Shadow have a bit of a moment.
I'm sorry, did you say you forget the name of the commander?
No, the name of when you have two different colored eyes. It has a specific name. But yeah, speaking of the name, they did give him a name. They called him Abe,
They
which
called
is
him Abe,
right.
which is a reference to Archie when
Mhm.
the gun commander's name was Abraham Tower.
Yes, which
Abe Tower.
a good old Abe, and
Tower.
so it's
But
been canonized.
but the short only says Abe. It doesn't say Tower
no,
anywhere.
so his last name,
Because
yeah, could still
in
be
the movies, like, we know that the gun commander, aka Olive Garden guy, we know that we don't know his first name, but we do know his last name is Commander Walters.
Whoa.
So is it possible that it's Abraham Walters and not Abraham Tower?
It could be. This is now going to be a point of contention unless something is confirmed within Sonic X Shadow Generations, or of course the Gerald Journal. I can talk.
The Rural Juror with Gerald Robotnik.
Yes. So then we fast forward 50 back to the present day. They go to a pyramid. Shadow has a fight. Rouge and Omega are there. Shadow needs a spaceship. Is he going to get it? You got to tune in. That's basically what happens. I don't think it's as strong as the first episode, unfortunately. Not that it's bad. It's just I don't think it's as good. And
You
there
didn't
are
like
a
it
couple.
quite as much.
Yeah. And I do have a couple issues with the canon and continuity, or what
Let's
implied.
hold
But I will
on
until we-
that.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get quick reactions and then let's dive into that. Bo, what did you think?
I thought it looked good. Like, I'm accustomed to what it's going to look at like because I've seen the first one already, but I feel like that was still strong. I feel like the action is, I mean, what have we seen better in Sonic animation for action? Like,
Yeah.
there are actually extended fights, both episodes. Like, every Sonic Boom episode has a 12-second thing where Eggman says, "Robots attack!" And then they do a spin dash and a hammer attack, and then the robots are gone. And Sonic Prime is kind of that way too. It's like, I guess Sonic and Shadow have an extended fight, but really not a lot of combat. But
Yeah.
we have combat here. But yeah, the story, the dialogue, not the best I've seen.
I mean, there were some lines in there that felt very comic booky. It felt comic booky overall to me. It reminded me of the DC direct-to-video movies, the kind of more recent ones. And that may be because the style of it is very modern as well. This one was a little more obviously like CG. It's meant to look 2D, but the movement of it is CG. I think the studio behind it. These are not Tyson Hess. Tyson's busy working on movie 3. This was directed, it says in the credits, by Kevin Molina Ortiz and his studio. There's a co-director as well, but he's the Turtles, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles guy. I did think, visually these look amazing, and they seem to follow story-wise a very similar template the first 2 episodes, which is to say that like both Omega and Emerald were kind of like blink and you miss some cameos of robots that are in games that are not 100% super relevant here, and then a lot of it was just action with a little bit of setup towards what's going to happen next. I think if you're a casual fan, you're just not, you have no idea what's happening. But this is for the hardcore fans.
Well, and as a non-casual fan,
Mm-hmm.
Rouge says you've got to come to Sonic's birthday. So this is all leading up to the opening scene of Sonic Generations.
Right.
Which,
yes. So let's get into
That
this.
was a little
Because
silly,
that was frustrating me. It's like, because we know for sure that there's things that happen after that. We know that there's a Sonic
right,
Forces
it's present
stage.
day,
We know that
12
there's
years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. We know that there's a Forces stage. We know that there's a Frontier stage. So surely he could have gone back in time and intersected with the birthday, but that they both take place in 2011 at Sonic's 20th birthday. Now we're coming up on the 35th. I mean, we're past the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
The next big one is 2026, 35.
All right.
So get ready for Sonic Generations 2, I guess, for maybe that. Anyway, so lore things. There were David, what were?
Well, it does touch on some lore things, like, yes, we see the commander. Yes, we see what is this? It's not exactly Doom's eye, but I guess it's kind of his eye. I don't know what we're calling this specifically. And we do have them journey to the pyramid from Sonic Adventure 2, but I feel like instead of making it feel like very natural in whatever it's trying to do, some of it feels a little more forced. Like in the present, okay, Shadow needs to go to the Ark, I guess. He goes to that pyramid because he remembers that there was a shuttle. We saw one shuttle. Sonic used that shuttle. That shuttle's gone. He goes to that pyramid. It's like fully operational. I know Rouge mentions that it's like, oh, it's become a supply base, but like the fact that Eggman had a base, his plan was defeated, and then he just, I guess, turned the base back on and is still using it feels a little strange because everyone knows where that base is. So Rouge is going there to do some unknown intel and just happens to run into Shadow at a base where, well, that place also has a teleporter. Shadow shouldn't have to worry about a space shuttle if he just knows there's a teleporter there because that's what he used to presumably, including Rouge, like they both. So maybe in episode 3 it starts with them in a teleporter. Maybe I'm getting worked up for no reason, but
Well,
like
I will say,
I
to
don't
your
know why
point,
it was on. Like why everything's on, what they're really doing there. Why couldn't they? I kind of wish they had found a different way for the three of them to get together instead of Shadow stumbling in on the two of them doing something completely unrelated. I feel like you could have found a better way to get the three of them there, and they accidentally turn on some unused defenses, and that's the issue. I don't know.
I thought it worked fine. I thought it was, not to undercut what you're saying entirely, but I thought it worked pretty fine. I thought it was kind of like, to your point, it was.
I mean,
I don't want to say it was boilerplate, but I do want to say it was familiar. So
right.
It felt like it could have been pulled out of a issue of IDW, and that makes sense because Ian Flynn was writing this. So it felt definitely similar to ways we've seen Ian set up exposition in the past.
True. And it's like I'm not against them going to the pyramid from Sonic Adventure 2. I'm just not happy with the way it's presented. It's brands like it's on, it's new, it looks normal. And
I think this is just like an effect of the pyramid. It just makes stories not make any sense because if you map out like where the characters are and then where they're next in Sonic Adventure 2, it makes absolutely no sense.
Right,
Why is Shadow in space and then he's in Skyrail and
that's fine, don't worry.
Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
But
so this is
the
just
Bermuda Triangle.
An effect, exactly. Yeah, it's like it scrambles your perception of where of locations are.
But I
like that theory.
Yeah, I mean that works. Why not? But I think the bigger issue with the lore I have is in the beginning, 50 years ago, where I mean this may be more like personal, but I feel like it also slightly contradicts Shadow the Hedgehog, the game. In that game, we see good old young Abe, we'll call him young Abe, peering through a window, and he sees Gerald talking to Black Doom and Shadows in a tube. And so it's like he accidentally stumbles across the fact that alien DNA is being used. This is shocking. He then tells somebody, and there's a raid on the Ark. Here, it's sort of presented as, I guess everyone knows, because this kid is able to just walk straight into a room where there's an alien, and this alien is being kept under glass. And I feel like that kind of undercuts like a secret deal that Gerald made, and then that secret deal being revealed, and then Gunn descending on the Ark. Like, I feel Gerald, I guess Maria finds out because she does know at the end of the Shadow game. And I guess Shadow himself, I feel like those are the only three that should know aliens are involved at all. And that's why when Abe sees the scene, he freaks out and tells people. Instead, it seems like, does everyone who worked on this know? How much of a secret is it? Is it not a secret? Are they keeping it secret from Gunn? Because then that gets kind of weird and complicated because what are they actually doing up there? Like, it makes things a bit more, it's not as smooth anymore. And so that, I think I have a bigger issue with that than I do Shadow stumbling across Rouge and Omega. Like, okay, whatever. Yeah.
I'm kind of okay with it because I feel like everything with Shadow should be contradictory. Like, there's a true ending to the game, but there's all these paths. Like, are the things you learned there just wrong? Or is there elements of truth? Are you getting different people's accounts? I'm okay with that. Shadow's memories, where do they come from? We don't know.
Where do they go?
Maybe
Cotton Eye
some
Joe.
of it's right. Maybe some of it's wrong. I'm okay with that.
We don't even know what he sounds like, because in the same game where he's going to be voiced by his usual voice actor, Kirk
Thornton.
Just testing
Chris
you,
Thornton.
Kirk Thornton. He's also voiced by Keanu Reeves. So what does he sound like? What does he look like? We don't know. Shadow is all distorted.
I guess I have a bigger problem with he's so nice to Maria in these new ones, and like this is the same guy who's fine with taking candy from babies. And I know we're trying to see how he gets from there to where we know him, but I don't like it. Like,
it makes me wonder. Also, like, another thing is, like, how common is it for hedgehogs to be friends with humans? Because Shadow's like, I know that I look like a hedgehog, which I was like, do you look like a hedgehog? I don't.
Maybe there was a family of hedgehogs that lived on the Ark, and they were like, we're going to adopt you.
Because we know so little about where if there was a hedgehog civilization or what that was like. We don't know if it's very unusual for Shadow to be a hedgehog at all. So is it like she, maybe from Maria's perspective, she's like, honestly, it would make more sense to me that you were an alien, because what are you talking about? You're a hedgehog. I thought you were an alien the whole time. You're a hedgehog. You think you're a hedgehog? Is that really what your self-narrative is? Because, wow, we are not seeing the same thing.
I guess like Sonic and Amy are unremarkable to the people who run into them. And in Forces, like you can just be a different kind of hedgehog, right?
I guess that's true. So yeah, I guess the Tails tubes have kind of canonized that the anthropomorphic animals live on the islands and the humans live on the. So I suppose that there have been other Elise and Sonic type pairings that we just don't know about.
Maybe like there could be. Oh man, would Sonic Team ever dare to tell that story? Like you find out that Sonic's half uncle was, he ran off with the first human girl he met on the mainland, and they've been living a fun, they've been living a happy life.
Well, it does feel like everything that has ever been, like the rabbit in Superstars, like the rabbit was a sketch. And then now it's a character in Superstars. So it's like Madonna was a sketch.
Coming back. That's what you're saying.
She's got to come back. Exactly. I want Madonna. Maybe she can show up in this game. Like Shadow.
That's really the lost opportunity in the movie, right? Cast Madonna as Madonna.
Well, that might have worked a bit better a few decades ago. Right. Right. Maybe the timeline will get shifted again, and Madonna will end up at Sonic's birthday at the end.
Ooh, that could make sense. They've added Chow.
And
they've added the rabbit before. So this is not impossible. This is not a crazy crackpot theory because we also know that there was on the Japanese website, we also know that there was another character card with a question mark.
Right. It's still a question.
Next to Shadow. Still a question. I think it's Madonna.
I'd be into Madonna in any form showing up in this game,
like a virgin or another one.
One, right?
2000 era.
Right. There's Vogue. Strike a pose. Maybe there's a level based on Evita the musical.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge connoisseur, but I did like her Super Bowl performance in 2010 or whenever that was.
Oh yeah,
she's right. Of course. Oh wait, what's the song? "Beautiful Stranger" from the Austin Powers.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's a top tier song. "Beautiful Stranger" from
Ray
the
of
Austin
Light.
Powers.
Also,
Ray of Light. Yeah.
She was coming out with some bangers in the early 2000s.
I mean, she still got it. Wasn't she just performing it wherever? I don't know. I'm sure she's. Yeah. I'm sure she's doing great. And if she wants to appear in the Sonic movies, If I can help facilitate that, let me know how.
Right. She just can't date Sonic like that.
Why not? It's a little May, December, but
It's a bit. That's like a February, December. I feel.
I don't know. I mean, by movie, like she's not. She might be in movie 3, but let's say she's in movie 4,
Okay.
and she would be. Let's say I don't know how old she would be by movie 4. Let's say she's in her 70s. I don't know if she's that old.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Sonic's probably 18 at that point.
Oh, okay. So at that point, it's fine.
Are we to judge? Yeah.
All right. She is 66 right now. I'm looking it up.
There you go.
She is also a native of Michigan, so she is a Midwestern. I think her house, her childhood home, became a museum, but she doesn't talk about Michigan.
What does she talk about?
I think she talks about other things.
Okay.
Do you remember when in the 2000s when Napster still existed?
Sure.
And she
Vividly.
she uploaded a fake album leak where it was like the size of an album, but the MP3 is just her saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" And it's just her getting mad at pirates, and the rest is just blank. I remember this.
Wow.
I feel like that's a good opportunity for like a techno remix of her like scolding you, but then it's like there's a beat.
I think somebody might have done that. I don't know if it was any good, but I feel like
seems like low hanging fruit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also. Go ahead.
Oh, but has she ever played Sonic? Is Madonna aware of Sonic the Hedgehog? Which is, of course, what we always ask when we go on one of these tangents.
I think yes.
I would say yes, but I'm gonna guess it's later than you think. I think it's like the next generation of her family had it, and she experienced it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, that could be. I think she was there from day one. I think she wanted a Sega Genesis because she was on top of the world. She was like, give me every consumer electronic that looks fun.
Well, do you think Vanilla Ice had a Sega Genesis?
Yeah.
Oh, he had a Nomad.
He had a... You should have used him in Nomad commercials. He might have sold a few more. Then again, maybe not. Maybe. At that point, he was done.
He had the Pluto prototype.
Yeah,
right. Because
Actually, do you guys know about the guy who has the Pluto prototype, and he just takes it to like tourist spots and photographs it?
What is the Pluto prototype for those of us who don't know?
It's
what that is.
A piece of Sega hardware that never really saw the light of the day in mid-90s kind of Saturn era, and this guy like takes it to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And
was the Pluto the one that was like all of it built into like the 32X and the Sega CD? Was it that? Is that what the Pluto
was? The Neptune, wasn't it?
That was Neptune. I forget what this
because Mars is a 32X.
Right.
The Pluto is essentially a Sega Saturn with a built-in modem. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So they were like, and instead they went, let's make the Dreamcast and have that come with the modem.
Okay, so we're at a crossroads here.
Yes.
We could either talk about open the mailbag, which to me sounds appealing.
Yeah.
Or we could talk about it's October, Halloween is coming, and so is this video game. We've talked a lot about the video game. Maybe we could talk about spooky stuff, i.e. levels, i.e. Pumpkin Hill, Mystic Cave, etc.
Well, do we want to save a spooky subject for being closer to Halloween?
There's a lot more October left.
There's a lot of October, but we also have more Sonic stuff coming.
Right.
Soon.
I mean, I guess there was that game that we keep on talking about.
There's that game. So I'm hearing mailbag. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mailbag it is.
Okay. Yeah, crack it open. Let's read.
Okay, we've got a couple because we've been opening this inconsistently and also at inconsistent times in the show. Do we do this at the end? Do we do it in the middle? We're doing it in the middle this time. This one comes from Joe Jocelyn, actually, and they say, "Hi there. Can I have a link to the Discord, please?" Yes, you can. That's how you get it. You email us. Also, what are your guys' thoughts on the Everything is Canon approach have I read this one before? I don't think so. Also, what are your guys' thoughts on the Everything is Canon approach that the Sonic series has been taking over the last few years? I've been catching up on the IDW comic, and I'm loving it. But when the Deadly Six showed up, it made me think, do they really need to be here? Anyway, thanks for the show. I enjoy listening to it while I do the dishes.
Whoa. Are you doing dishes right now? That's what I want to know. Write back in and let us know what dishes you're washing, how long it takes. I was washing dishes early. Bo, you go first.
I like Everything is Canon, but not at once. So I like the idea that people hazily remember what happened and then kind of like, as they're telling the story, reshape it a little bit to be more self-serving, or they forget some details and then they connect them, just like human memory, the way I remember things from my youth, and tell them again. Like, is it a verbatim transcript of what happened? No, but you know, it kind of makes sense. I've got the beats, and I'm connecting them together. Did I really wear a Halloween costume in the snow that year? Yes, absolutely. Did I complain to my parents in whatever specific way I said? Probably not. But, you know, the bones of that are true.
The bones.
Halloween themed.
Yeah. I mean, having bones be canon, I think, is helpful. Otherwise, you're just a pile on the floor. You need structure.
Mr. Bones. This is Mr. Bones show now.
Right. Whatever happened to Mr. Skin? Wait. Moving on.
Well, it's appropriate that Sonic is crossing over with DC Comics, because DC Comics was where the multiverse and therefore Everything is Canon kind of originated. And in fact, the more modern version of Everything is Canon starts with Mark Waid, who was mentioned earlier by David the Lurker, and Grant Morrison. Those two in particular developed a concept called hypertime, which is basically what Bo was saying, which is where the present is canon, and then anything that is relevant to the present is canon. But you're not beholden to the past to tell the story that you're telling right now.
I do think there should be a constitution, though. Like, just as the games, you should have a Bill of Rights of you should be able to hold on to your ring, and there shouldn't be
the brand is there's a constitution, there's guidelines, you still want it to be recognizable. But with canon, I think it's like, you can, if you can find a good reason to bring back Breezy, then she's always been there, I guess, which is what they were doing in Archie. You know, going back to the commander, they're bringing back his name from Archie. I liked what Ian was doing in that post. Right, it was that post-reboot era where it was kind of like everything that had ever been a Sonic thing got to exist in this world in a sort of combined way, which was really fun.
Yeah, it used whatever it had access to, which included the first two Deke shows and the games. And there was some fun stuff there, but it just like all of Archie is now sort of lost to time. But yeah, I think canon, like, the idea of Everything is Canon, it makes sense in some ways. You want canon to be fluid. You if you come up with a great story, you don't want to necessarily be beholden, like the comic book example. You come up with a great idea for a Superman story, but if it contradicts something that was written in 1989, you don't necessarily want to go, oh, I got to throw it out. Like, sometimes you do want to be able to bend and play with it. And on the other hand, sometimes you can write a really great story referencing things and using the canon and continuity to its fullest and best. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you can also write a really terrible story that is just obsessed with canon and continuity and doesn't care about actually telling a story. Or you write something that is so far out of left field that even a casual reader or viewer will go, this doesn't fit. Is this an alternate universe? What is happening here? So it's good to find a balance. And so just the concept of Everything is Canon, I think, is like, keep doors open, use what makes sense, but always serve the story first and foremost. And if things really work well, you referencing or utilizing things from the past, you go ahead and do that. Except Sonic Spinball, of course, shouldn't be canon, and Ian Flynn is wrong by insinuating ever that it... Oh, wait, what? No,
I feel like going through the experience of Spinball would have been really painful. I guess Sonic's used to it. It happens in a lot of games.
I mean, I feel like a lot of things Sonic does should be painful, right? Like,
I was glad that the first movie addressed that, which is like, how are you still alive? I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's
he's always hitting metal. He's he's running so fast. Like, I guess he has to be durable. Like, if you went Mach 1 just yourself, like, let's say I threw you to go that fast, you would be in pain.
Hmm.
Things might start burning.
There was a series of fan fiction stories in, I want to say like 97, 98 by this guy who really wanted to like fix that in the continuity. And so he had this idea of like, there's a warp bubble that forms around Sonic when he runs. And then also if he's carrying Sally, the warp bubble also encompasses her. So their, faces don't get ripped off from friction of the air.
This. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could remember the name of the author. It's like something to do with an owl. That's all I got. I've looked at on the archive sites.
I'm not sure.
Isn't that also a Flash thing though?
Maybe that he was. This was probably a 12-year-old. Right, the way I was then too. It was probably cribbing off.
It was stolen from someone, right? Because I also think of Superman, because when John Byrne reinvented or rebooted Superman, the whole thing of like, oh, his clothes don't get messed up because he has like this very thin like force field around his body that's generated from his superpowers, which I think also is why he's able to carry things without them breaking, or carrying someone and flying without them dying if he does it really fast. Like there's always we gotta inject just a little bit of science, even though when you put that under scrutiny, it's not gonna work.
I don't hate it. I was like, it's like, yeah, sure, that sort of, it makes as much sense as anything. Okay, another question comes from the Discord. How do you join the Discord? You email us, sonicweeklypodcast@gmail.com. So on the Discord, Rat Liker asked, I have a pretty simple question, but one that's been on my mind lately, and I don't think it's been answered. What are your favorite non-hedgehog related video games? Also, you don't have to read this part on the podcast if you don't want to, but in which order would you place the Beatles in a Human Centipede? I don't know what I was expecting. He did warn us.
Yeah, he did. Do we do the first part or the second part first?
Let's dispense with the second part. I'm gonna split the baby here, and I'm gonna make it a circle. So,
oh my god.
Oh, I
can't pick a favorite.
Can't pick. That's right. It's not.
Our society has made Purge movies. It's made Saw movies. It's made a Human Centipede
there
movie.
Are three of those.
Do we deserve to continue on?
See, this is what the original Japanese authors of Sonic the Hedgehog thought, that we were not whimsical enough as a society to understand the Mary Garnett version of the origin, and they were right. We're brutal, insane murderers, and we love murder things.
We love
not me, but the royal we, the queen.
The queen loves to murder, right?
Yeah.
Well,
the king, I guess.
The king, right?
There's still a queen. He's not single. Is he single? It's a single king.
What? He's what's her face?
Camilla.
Why can't I think of her name?
Camilla.
Yeah. Is she?
She's the queen.
She's the queen. Yeah. Queen consort.
Camilla.
She gets the name queen, but right. See, Queen Elizabeth II, her husband, he was never king. He was always Prince Philip, or whatever his name was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Camilla, no, I guess she is queen. She held on. She's still queen, 77 years old.
Good for her.
How about that?
Good for her.
3 days ago, Queen Camilla's son speaks out on his mother's reputation for heavily drinking. I'm going to say I can't answer the Beatles question because I've never seen any of the Human Centipede films.
I did see the Human Centipede movie. I'm probably the only one that has, right? Okay. Like, you guys have not seen it. I don't recommend it. It's awful.
It's a bad idea.
It did scar me. I don't like thinking about it. It is super gross. The ending is scary. The beginning is fucked up. The middle is scary. We watched it at my apartment in in the mid 2010s with a small group of friends.
When it was new, I assume. When
it was new on Netflix streaming, and that was still novel. And we were like, oh, this will be a laugh. This Human Centipede.
It'll be a laugh.
What a silly concept. You get poop in your mouth. Haha. And then 2 hours later, just everybody pale as a ghost, like not able to like make eye contact and just staring dead into like 1,000-yard stares. And just like, okay, I gotta go. All right, bye. I'll talk to you again. And then we just sort of never did. So for that reason, I do have an answer, but I don't know if I'm going to share it. That might be Patreon exclusive answer.
That's a Patreon exclusive answer. So let's talk about video games.
Yes, and let's set up Bo to go last on this question because it's a good segue into Rings of Saturn and the other news.
Mm-hmm.
So David, what are our non-Hedgehog video games that you play?
Non-Hedgehog games. Well, I'm a little shocked to find out there are non-Hedgehog games. I assumed every game was Sonic in some form or fashion. But I mean, I don't play a ton of video games. I guess I do have. I play Nintendo, right?
Hell yeah!
I've played, playing Mario. Like Super Mario Odyssey. I played that to completion. I enjoy the Kirby games, even though there's Kirby games I haven't played. There are other Sega games, of course, like very into the Dreamcast staples that were not Phantasy Star Online. So I was like, played. I enjoyed Shenmue. Jet Set Radio was a frequent game. And so I guess I just play a lot of more retro games. And if I sit down and I really want to play something, sometimes and it's not Sonic, I end up playing like Tetris or Pac-Man. Like the recent Pac-Man collection, I like to go through that. Or the shiny Tetris game with Tetris Connect or Connected, or the one that glows. I really like that one. But I also like Tetris on the DS, Tetris on the Game Boy, Tetris with Puyo Puyo, even though I don't understand Puyo Puyo, so I always lose on that. I've played normal games. I played platformers, other platformers. What am I trying to think? What else have I recently played? I played Cuphead. I played Cuphead to the end.
I didn't get all the way to the end. I wasn't able to finish that yet
because it is difficult. So yeah, I'm trying to think of like the last normal platformer I played, but I guess Crash 4 might have been the last one that I played to the end and went back to and stuff. Yeah, Mascots and Tetris and Pac-Man and occasionally other things, but it's still in that wheelhouse of Nintendo and Sega. That's what I play. That's what I like. And I've never been a huge RPG person, so.
Yeah, RPGs are a blank spot for me as well. Go-to games for me: Smash Brothers, Rocket League, Fortnite, Nintendo Switch all the way.
Yeah.
Xbox is cool. PlayStation's all right. Switch is the best. And Switch rules. I can't believe we're in October and we still don't know about the Switch 2. That's nuts. But you know what else is nuts? Garfield Caught in the Act, back in the news. What?
Whoa.
What the hell is going on there? For a look at this, plus checking in with Rings of Saturn, it's back to Bo.
Yeah, retro gaming corner here. So I think there's more news forthcoming about the Garfield stuff. The Video Game History Foundation, VGHF, was present at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, PRGE. We got a lot of initials here. And they showed off a video of Garfield Caught in the Act, the lost levels. They truly have been lost because they were Sega Channel exclusives. Sega Channel being the 90s cable service in which you could get games delivered to your Sega Genesis through the television. I know how that worked because I worked as an engineer in television space for a while, but it's magical to you, I'm sure. Anyway, these were thought to be lost media, but they are now found media. And I hear the Garfield community is they said, wait, huh? What? There's a new 90s Garfield game level, and I hear also they're kind of rough, so they were maybe like lost and cut for a reason. There's a lot of weird stuff on the Sega Channel. Like there's at least one game that was canceled, but they're like, what? Actually, we're just going to put it on the channel. But Video Game History Foundation continuing to do very good work. Was it earlier this year? It must have been earlier this year. They had the VHS tape with the long lost Sonic 2 stuff.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm sure they've got more for us in the future.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to have Joey back on to discuss the Caught in the Act.
They should send the ROM to him before they send it to anyone else.
Yeah.
Like,
We'll have to call Joey and get like a check-in segment on how he's probably not playing these. It's more likely that I could convince him to play like one of the, because there's like several Garfield kart racers on the Switch that are regularly like 99 cents.
Yeah,
I could probably convince him to do that sooner than however you could access these obscure and probably painful Sega Channel exclusive levels. But yeah, sorry.
Oh, I recently played one of those Garfield Kart games. They're not good.
Kart games?
Right.
They're no Mario Kart?
They are no Mario Kart. I play Mario Kart sometimes. Doesn't mean I'm good at it. Yeah. There's another game. It's Mario. Right. So the Video Game History Foundation, they released the video. I didn't watch the whole thing. I did think it was neat that like before the level starts, there's like some text in front of it being like, yeah, like that's developer commentary in an era where developer commentary did not exist for video games.
Right, and you're not that far removed from developers under aliases.
Yeah. So like just having that on the Sega Channel, like that's forward thinking. Can you imagine if like the version of Sonic 3 that was on the Sega Channel had, like, before you started Angel Island, there was just a text box from Yuji Naka explaining where this level came.
You'd pay any amount of money for that.
Hey, he was being paid by Sega directly. They could have forced him to do it. Just write a little bit. But yeah, has there been any news on it being released to the public, or is it so far just like, we have it, you can see it?
It's just you can see it, and I know they are under-resourced and understaffed, and they have maybe like an entire room full of stuff that like a magazine that Folded gave to them, and I think the thing I heard is like they're just in the process of like, can we put a label on what all this stuff is, and then like that's step one, and they're like 2 years into it. So I would expect more from them eventually.
Hey, if they can fly me out, I'll sit in their room.
I will happily search through that for Burning Ranger stuff for free.
For free. Did you hear that? Video Game History Foundation Bo is willing to go in your rooms for free.
Hey, I've had Bo in our guest room, and 10 out of 10 on the he didn't kill anybody. He didn't kill a single person while he was here. He was a great guest. And speaking of great guests, also freaking Rings of Saturn. What's going on with Rings of Saturn?
Well, you remember last week I talked about hardcore 4x4 and the cheat code that required you to name yourself Steve in order to put in a button code in order to drive the wrong way, and then like a picture shows up instead of the words. It's like a lot of work for a very little effort. Anyway, I connected with Steve.
What?
Steve Camber, formerly of Gremlin Interactive and now of Sumo Digital.
What?
So famous for the other kart racers that are actually good. All-Stars Racing, Transformed, and such.
The world of Sonic.
And so we exchanged some messages, and I'm going to run a Q&A with him. On the Rings of Saturn this weekend. So look forward to that. It's nothing earth-shaking, but I'm very happy to put a name to the face. And actually, I already knew the face because in the other version of the game on the PlayStation, they have his face as an Easter egg. But, Steve is a real person.
Does he reveal who the lady is?
It's his first wife.
Whoa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So now we know.
First wife. So does he talk about the divorce, or?
Didn't get into that. Didn't know whether it was a minefield, whether it's long enough.
Yeah, that can be a follow up if after.
Readers
keep asking.
Man.
Yeah, well, I wanted to alienate this guy as much as possible, and I had opportunity to ask him some questions. So.
Right. Well, hey, if anybody out there who's gone through a divorce wants to be interviewed about their divorce, we're
pretty good listeners.
Yeah, I want to know when it started falling apart, like who filed it, like is it your fault and you won't admit it? And
I think they were probably just too young. It's fine. It's fine.
We'll get to the root.
It was
of
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Whoa,
Oh,
that's a different song. Crazy. That's right, because we're in.
I like this one though.
oh, damn it.
uh,
There we go.
right, because we're in spooky upside down time, which is what happens in
Yeah.
Sonic Heroes. There's that one level,
Haunted, not
Haunted-
Haunted Mansion. That's a Disney
Hang Castle.
Hang Castle.
Castle. That's right. And you touch a thing, and suddenly you're upside down, and you're like, "Whoa, what's happening?" And you know what's happening? You've just flipped upside down, and I guess you're at the beginning of another episode of Sonic Weekly. Whoa, that's right. Sonic Weekly, the only show that comes out once a week featuring Sonic the Hedgehog, called Sonic Weekly. If you've enjoyed what you've heard so far, the wacky ups and downs, ins and outs, the things that drive humanity, well, you should go ahead and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so through your podcatcher of choice. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict for the true Android connoisseur. And, you can rate and review it in-app. That always helps out, helps get the word out that Sonic Weekly is a show you can listen to once a week about Sonic. But if you don't want to deal with podcatchers, that's fine. We're also over on YouTube at Sonic-Weekly. You can go ahead, you can subscribe over there, like and comment, do all that fun stuff. But there's not just audio, there's also gameplay footage recorded by friend of the show, Jack of Old Games. Maybe he'll get the ROM to Garfield, Caught in the Act, the lost levels before the rest of us, and we'll see what happens at the end. Does Garfield make it? Does he die? He might die. This might have been, that's why they canceled it. And if you want to reach out to the show, you can go ahead and do that. sonicweeklypodcast@gmail.com. We do have a mailbag feature. We read every letter that comes in, even the spam, but we don't read those out loud because those links will take you to the wrong places. It's also, you write in and like the listeners who wrote in this time, ask for a link to our Discord server where you can talk to like-minded Sonic the Hedgehog fans about all sorts of things, including Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, that's right. It's such a grand old time in there. If you want to support the show and financially to help cover the costs of hosting and production and all that fun stuff, we do have a Ko-fi. Username is just Sonic Weekly. You can throw it a one-time tip, or you can go ahead and subscribe and become an executive producer for $5 a month. Get some extra fun old content. Just fun old stuff, whatever it's called. It's from Wife of the Grant, Ashlyn. It's like there's stickers and we'll throw whatever else we feel like doing. It's whatever.
Get little prizes, and so far those have been exclusive fan art stickers of the Sonic Cast.
Right. So we got to once again
in sticker form.
We got to thank Pabsy, Pigdan, Surtu, Saving Throws, and Sonicu, who are at that $5 tier.
Some of them more.
Some of them even more than that. Wow. Like you can throw in whatever you want.
There's no ceiling.
Right. There is no ceiling.
No ceiling.
But I mean, if somebody's like, here's 10 grand, that'd be great, but I'd also feel very weird about that. But you know what?
Nobody would feel weird. If you've got it, we deserve it.
If you got right, don't take a loan out. That would be a little strange. But that's if you want to, if you're able to. Otherwise, it's there's the free ways of subscribing, the commenting, hanging out in the Discord, telling a friend, telling your parents, telling your friends' parents, telling your parents' friends. And when you're trick-or-treating, or when somebody comes trick-or-treating at your door, make a slip in a little business card that says, listen to Sonic Weekly. I'm sure that won't be weird. Put it with candy, but don't put it in the candy.
Don't stamp on the candy.
No, like
separate.
Right. You're like, here's
with
a chocolate.
the razor blades. Then
here's a chocolate bar. Here's that. Once again, got to thank, I guess, thanks Smoovies for the edit. Sorry, Smoothies.
I hope you take care of that first stuff at the top.
Right. Oh, so got to thank Smoovies for the edit. He makes this thing listenable for your gentle ear canals. And I got to thank Bo and Grant. Always got to thank Bo and Grant because they're here. You know, this is not a one-man journey. This is a trio of trouble, a trio of terror, a trio of tamales. That's what we are.
Team Weekly in Sonic Heroes.
Yes.
Team Sonic, Team Dark, Team Rose,
Mm-hmm.
Team Chaotix,
Yes.
Team Weekly.